Minnesota lost the Insight Bowl in a heartbreaker to Iowa State. They ended up 6-7. Tim Brewster enters his 4th year. Adam Weber, a little disappointing. 52% completion rating, more interceptions than touchdowns. Dwayne Bennett and DeLeon Eskridge will be his running backs. Troy Stoudemire and DeJohn McKnight. Matt Caruso and 5 returning starters are coming back. But is that a good thing? Because they allowed 41 sacks last year. They need to give Weber some time.
Well, you look at Weber's position. I would say you look at quarterback Marquise Gray, a guy that came in at times last season, provided a spark, but he's now going to be more of a receiver. But pay attention to him at quarterback, too. He could make it interesting. And can those young wide receivers step up in place of Decker? You lose a top wide receiver in Decker, they need those guys to step up and play huge. And keep an eye on true freshman running back Lamonte Edwards at 6'2", 215, and Donnie Kirkwood, 5'10", 197. They lacked pizzazz last season in the running game. These two freshmen have a lot of speed and power to go with it.
Well, on defense, their front 7 is gone. Their cornerback, Mike Carter, sophomore, he's coming into his own. Safety, Kim Royson, was a leader. Defensive end, Anthony Jacobs, is going to need to step up. And they're expecting big things out of redshirt freshmen Sam Maresh and Spencer Reeves, who's a sophomore at the linebacking core.
Yeah, they have a lot of youth on defense. They're really, really young on defense. You look at 6 freshmen and 4 sophomores on the 2-deep roster. So that's going to be a problem. They're going to have to grow up fast in the Big Ten. You also you look for them to get more pressure from the defensive ends. The interior D-line is going to be solid, but those ends have to get to the quarterback, and that's going to ease up the pressure on linebackers to make plays and flow freely to the football.
The Northwestern Wildcats nearly took out SEC powerhouse Auburn in the Outback Bowl, losing in overtime for that one. Pat Fitzgerald enters his 5th year, and he just proves everybody wrong every year. Dan Purcell will be his quarterback. R.B. Fields, their running back. Wide receivers Drake Dunsmore and Sidney Stewart both had over 40 receptions last year. Ben Burkett and 4 returning starters to that offensive line. They let up 32 sacks, but when they were 9-3 in 08, they only let 22 sacks up. So they need to get that sack total down and keep Purcell clean.
Well, you look at Purcell, he has the best opportunity to be successful in this season with that veteran offensive line coming back. I think they're going to be a stout group, so look for success from Purcell. And another question I have is, can they settle on a bell cow running back? You usually see Northwestern with one guy they go to, but they need to settle on a bell cow back, and that's going to help out the offense tremendously. And you look at the wide receiver position, solid group outside of Drake Dunsmore, but he has a chance to break through, so look for a big season out of Dunsmore.
And on defense, Mike Hankwitz in his 3rd year has performed brilliantly as defensive coordinator. Quentin Davey, Nate Williams, their 2 leading tacklers, are back at linebacker. Defensive lineman Vince Brown, the end, and Corbin Bryant, the defensive tackle, need to keep that unit together. And in the secondary, the only returning starter is Jordan Maben, but look for Brian Peters at strong safety, who's had a lot of experience to step up.
Well, that linebacker core is the strength of that defense, led by Quentin Davey, outstanding playmaker sideline to sideline, and can play downhill and also excels in coverage. The D lineman, with the loss of Corey Wooten, can Vince Brown pick up where Wooten left off? Can he provide that production on that side of the defense to help out that entire unit as a whole? And also, last thing, secondary lost some stars, but they still have some experience, so look to see a lot of spunk out that secondary group, a lot of hands on the ball, a lot of pass breakup, and maybe a lot of interceptions.
Ohio State 11-2, fresh off their big Rose Bowl win over favored Oregon. Jim Tressel enters his 10th year. Terrell Pryor really took some strides in that bowl game. Running backs Brandon Saint, look out for redshirt freshman Jamal Berry to have an impact in the backfield. Also, Devere Posey was a 2nd-team All-Big Ten performer. He is great, and the offensive line is led by left guard Justin Bourne and Mike Brewster. They return 4 on the O-line.
Well, that O-line still has a question mark at left tackle with Michael Adams. Can he step up and play huge for the Buckeyes? That's one position you want to watch this offseason. And quarterback Terrell Pryor, can he continue to make the maturation steps to be a top-flight quarterback? He looked outstanding in the bowl game. Can he carry it over to the fall this year? If so, expect a big year out of him. And the 3rd wide receiver needs to emerge. Can that be Deron Carter? If he's eligible, if he can be that 3rd receiver, he has outstanding ability to catch the football.
And the defensive side of the ball, Tressel always has a stifling D. 12.5 points per game last year, 91 rush yards per game, so you're not run on the Buckeyes. Cameron Hayward, defensive end, is their go-to guy, but linebackers, 2 great ones, Ross Holman, their leading tackler, and Brian Roll. And then in the secondary, they have Chimdi Chekwa at cornerback and Devon Torrance two up-and-coming guys.
Yeah, Devon Torres' development is going to be key to that secondary because they need physical corners. They play a lot of off-man, a lot of man coverage. They're going to need him to step up and play huge in that secondary. And also, can Nathan Williams be a standout on the opposite side? That's going to be key. If the Buckeyes are able to get pressure on the quarterback, you know they're going to be sound stopping the run. If they can provide pressure from the end, that's going to be dangerous. It's going to be a dangerous defense. And you mentioned those two linebackers. Both those guys, Holman and Roll, are stars.
Penn State 11-2 last year. They beat LSU in the Outback Bowl. They were ranked in the top 20 almost all year, and they were favored in every game. This team took care of the teams they needed to, but disappointed against the two top teams, Iowa and Ohio State, in the Big Ten. Paterno enters his 45th year. New quarterback Kevin Newsom, the sophomore, is expected to run the spread HD. Evan Royster is back, first team All Big Ten. Stephon Green, his backup, is good too. Derek Moy, the best wide receiver on the team, leads a pretty experienced bunch. And the leader on the offensive line is Steve Wisniewski, who moves from center to right guard. He was a first-team All-Big Ten.
Yeah, outside of Wisniewski, that O-line has some serious issues, and they have a lot of question marks they have to get answered before the season starts. And I also wonder how they're going to take advantage of Kevin Newsom's running ability, because he can't move around. He's a little bit mobile than Darryl Clark was last season. So how can they take advantage of his ability? That's going to be key. And you look at Evan Royster's back, fresh, ready to go, so expect a big year out of him.
Defensive coordinator Tom Bradley, one of best in the country last 5 years, under 94 yards per game. Mike Mowdy, ACL injury last year, sophomore, he's back at linebacker. Ali Agbu is going to be dependent upon as defensive tackle. Jack Crawford is going to be dependent on to get to the quarterback. And safeties Nick Suke and Drew Astorino are going to ask to bring leadership to the secondary.
Yeah, you look at the secondary. I really love their secondary. I think they're a solid group, especially Deontay Lyon. He's going to be fine back there at the cornerback spot, so he's going to have a big year expected out of him. You also look at linebacker Michael Mowdy is back from injury, so he's going to have a breakout year. Expect to see big things out of him. May push for all conference. He's that type of player, and they need those two defensive ends that you mentioned to get up after the quarterback to provide pressure up.
Danny Hope is in his second year to lead the Boilermakers of Purdue. The last time they were in a bowl was 2007. Quarterback Robert Marr, the Miami transfer, is slated to start. It's his job to lose. Big injury at running back. Ralph Bolden tears his ACL. Al Tariq McBurst and company will try to pick up the slack for him. Keith Smith, first-team All-Big Ten wide receiver, had 1,100 yards. And Dennis Kelly, the left tackle, leads the offense.
Yeah, the offensive line, I want to know how well can they gel, how fast can they gel to help out that unit as a whole. Robert Marr is going to bring a different dynamic to the offense. He's mobile, he has a strong arm, and he's a fiery competitor, so that's going to be interesting to see him play quarterback at Purdue in the Big Ten. Also, Al Tariq McBurst, can he step up and play big, because they had a loss, like you mentioned, in the offseason with their star running back. So can he step up and take the place? If not, then he's going to struggle running the football.
Well, the run defense really needs to improve, because the last 5 years they've given up at least 143 yards per game, 173 yards per game last year. Ryan Kerrigan, 13 sacks, 5.5 tackles for loss, is a first-team All-Big Ten. He's coming back. Jason Warner at linebacker is going to need to step up with Holland and Beckford at linebacker, and Mike Ergel, their cornerback, needs to solidify the secondary.
I think they have a solid front seven, and that's going to be key because they're going to help out that weak suspect secondary that they have back there. And two D linemen I want you to keep an eye on this year. You look at Keywan Short, 6'4", 310, and true freshman Bruce Gaston, 6'3", 210. These guys are going to come in and play huge and stout up the middle and stop the run. That's going to be important. And then Ryan Kerrigan is a man-child. This guy can come off the end terror. So that's going to be key for that defense. Purdue's going to look a lot better defensively because they're able to apply pressure up front.